Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be making a pork tenderloin with rice and sauteed vegetables. Really simple meal. I'll show you here. Pork tenderloin, $8.49 for two. It's about a kilogram. It's a pretty good deal. I just have a medley of different vegetables that are left over in the fridge. Carrots, zucchini, peppers, mushrooms, onion, and some jalapenos from my tree or my plant out on the deck. So the first thing we are going to do for the pork, we're going to set the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I've put about, I think, a cup and a half of brown rice into this sieve, or sieve, I'm going to pronounce it, and we're just going to get that washed. Yeah, it's fairly easy to do. Just run some cold water. You just want to get rid of some of the starch that's on the rice as well as just get any grime off there. So I used to just run my fingers through it after you've washed your hands. Once you feel your rice is sufficiently clean, basically just put it in your pot. I guess my rule of thumb for brown rice is about a 2-to-1 ratio of water to rice. Maybe a little bit less than 2-to-1 for water. So for a cup and a half, I'd put a little less than 3 cups. And then I also add a bit of olive oil and bay leaf and salt, I guess. So we now have the pot on the stove. You can see the olive oil and bay leaf in there. Basically, we're just gonna turn it on to max and let it come to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, we will set a timer for about 42 minutes. And yeah, and we'll go from there. Now I'm gonna prepare our pork. So I think a good rule of thumb for pork is you want it at room temperature when you cook it. So take it over about 30 minutes before you plan to cook it. That, and I'm just gonna drain a bit of the juice. Put some nice looking pieces. Just gonna wash my hands out. So next, you just kind of want to trim it up a bit. I mean, I guess this is really optional. You can leave some of it on, but some of the silver skin might be a little bit tough to eat once it gets cooked. So I recommend trying to cut a little bit down out of it. Try not to get too much of the pork itself. Alright, I think that's good enough. So after you kind of cut off your silver skin as much as you can, I'm not a butcher, but go ahead and just pat these dry. Get a little bit of that moisture out of there. Make sure to get both sides. So the rice is coming to a boil. I'm just going to turn it down to low. I'd say 3 is probably good, just enough to keep it simmering. And then we're going to put a timer on for 42 minutes. So we're going to season our pork. I'm using cumin, salt, pepper, garlic powder, cayenne pepper, and ground thyme. So before we season, we're just going to tenderize the meat just a tiny bit with a fork. So the way I season, I basically just kind of freehand it. And now the other side. Also with pork, it's good whenever you touch it to just wash your hands just in case. So now once everything's seasoned up, I'm gonna grab a tray like that and just put them in there. Once your rice is at about 20-ish minutes, you're gonna wanna put the pork in and put a few pads of butter on top just to make it a bit more juicy when it comes down. And that's gonna cook for 25 minutes and then rest for 5 minutes after that. Then we're just gonna do basic chopping of the vegetables. So I'm gonna put a little bit of garlic in here. Gonna be zucchini heavy, I think, but that's okay. And we do a red pepper just for some extra color, I think. the peppers from my tree. There's all your veggies in there. Start your veggies by heating up a decent amount of olive oil, about medium heat. Start by adding your onion and garlic. At this point you can add a tiny bit of salt, and then some pepper, and if you like hot, you can put some pepper flakes in. Once onion and garlic are a bit soft, starting to smell good, you can then put the rest of your veggies in. Season at this point as well. I'm going to use garlic powder and thyme as well as the salt and pepper that I already put in. Might put a bit more into taste. Also going to add a little bit of lemon juice, I believe. It's always pretty good to liven it up. Another general kitchen tip, try to clean as you go. Just makes things easier. Now we're getting close. So once the rice is finished, it's going to come off the heat and sit for about 10 minutes. And then you can mix it around with a fork. This is just about until it gets a little bit softer. Maybe you want to turn down the heat just a tiny bit. And then our pork has about 14 minutes. That'll rest for 5 when it comes out. And I guess I'll see you then. Well, the rice is just settling now. Pork is resting for maybe 7 minutes, 5-7 minutes or so. And then we'll slice it. We will fluff the rice, and then we'll put everything together in a bowl with the veggies. All right, our pork is now out, and we're gonna slice it. I think for this dish, I'm gonna slice it a bit thinner than I might usually. I'm gonna get my knife, and I got my thing. Slice it down the middle, just confirm it looks good. Oh yeah, it looks perfect. So that's what we're looking at right now. A tiny, tiny bit of pink in there, but I think it's just enough. I'm gonna put this all together now. So we're gonna start with a bit of rice. Add some of our zucchini mix. And finally, we're gonna add our pork. We're finished this, it looks a little something like this. Well, that's how our dish turned out. I think it looks pretty good. I hope this was informative and helpful. And I'll see you next time.